Hi, I want to explain some content from file 2.3 and file 2.5, just in case you want to hear me talking about the course materials. Okay. First of all, I do want to draw your attention to the videos I post for each chapter. The first video for 2.3 is a YouTube video explaining vowels. The person did not limit to English vowels, but also some other languages. I think it's beneficial to watch, although his description of the vowels is a little different from our textbooks, okay? But the basics are the same. The second link here is the link to the sound files. As I explained in the introductory video I posted on Blackboard at the beginning of the semester. If you see a hyperlink, if you see a hyperlink symbol right next to a paragraph or an exercise in our textbook, that means there are materials that you can find in the companion website. For example, here you have the link to sound files for chapter 2. If you click on the link, it's going to take you to the site where it has all of the sound files for chapter 2. And it's going to be beneficial to hear the textbook makers to voice or pronounce the words for us, okay? And so it has all of the vowel sounds on page 60, as well as page 69, 71, which are file 2.5 materials. Okay. Here is a very interesting video showing you the X-ray to show the person's jaw and tongue movement when producing words. And I think this is a really cool video to watch. You can also practice transcription when you are watching the video, as this person pronounces consonant and vowel sounds together. Okay. I'm just going to show you a little bit of it, and you can watch the whole video on your own time.
Her chair, her care, her pa, her ta, her car, her dare, her ne, her se.
Okay, I think this is a really interesting video to watch and also an opportunity to practice transcription, as I just said. Okay, let's go to the materials. First of all, we need to talk about the articulatory properties of vowels. Vowels are different from consonants. If you remember from the previous files, consonants are produced with some kind of airflow to be blocked or restricted in the vocal tract. But all vowels are produced with the vocal tract open, and so all vowel sounds are voiced. There are no voiceless vowel sounds. And so that means the descriptors we used to describe the consonants don't apply to vowels, right? For consonants, we can use the features of voicing, place of articulation, and manner of articulation to describe the consonants. But for vowels, because all of them are voiced, we cannot really use the same features to describe. Instead, we use 4 descriptors for vowel sounds. They include tongue height, tongue advancement, lip rounding, and tenseness. There are 10 monophthongs. Monophthongs are single vowel sounds, and 5 diphthongs, which are complex vowel sounds in American English. Our textbook focuses on American English, and that's what we will focus on in this class. For the 4 aspects to describe vowels, if you look at the chart on page 59, and page 60 has a lot of words to exemplify the different vowel sounds. If you look at page 59, this chart is extremely important for us to understand the vowel sounds in English. This represents the vocal cavity, okay? And based on the 4 features, we can describe each of the 10 monophthongs in English. The first descriptor is tongue height. If you look at the chart and try to produce the 4 vowel sounds, e, and a, you could see that your jaw moves from a higher position to a much lower position, from e to a, right? And so the jaw movement indicates the tongue height because our tongue also moves from a higher position to a lower position together with our jaw. It's the same with these 4 vowel sounds, oo, and ah. You can also see or feel your jaw lowers and lowers from oo to ah, okay? And so based on the height of the tongue, we can describe our vowels in 3 groups. E, oo, and oo. These 4 vowels are called high vowels because the tongue position is the highest, okay? And then we have e, a, and o. These 4 are called mid height position, and a and ah are called low vowels, okay? So we can group our vowels into 3 groups, high, mid, and low, based on the height of our tongue and our jaw, if that makes more sense to you. If you are trying to produce e and then also oo, if you change your sound from e, oo, you can feel your tongue move from the front of your vocal cavity towards the back of the vocal cavity from e to oo. And so this is the tongue advancement. If our tongue is in the front part of our vocal cavity, we call it a front vowel. If it's towards the back of our vocal cavity, we call it a back vowel. If it's in the middle, then we call it a central vowel. And so if you produce e, you know that it's a front vowel. Oo, it's a back vowel. So e, and ah are all front vowels. And the schwa and the wedge are central vowels, and the lowercase u, oo, the upsilon, u, the open o, and the script a, are called back vowels, okay? In this chart, you see the shaded area in the middle, okay? Their boundary is a dotted line. These ones are lax vowels because we do not need to make much of an effort to produce the sound. Compared to e and oo, these 2 are called tense vowels because we do have to make an effort. For e, we have to spread our lips to the positions that almost the extreme positions, right? You cannot spread your lips further to produce e. And for oo, the lowercase u, we have to round our lips to almost an extreme position. Ooh, we have to make an effort. And that's why they are called tense vowels. All of the ones in the shaded area here, they are called lax vowels because we don't have to make such of an effort. And then we see the dotted lines surrounding three of the back vowels here, the lowercase u, oo, the upsilon, u, and the open o, ah. These are called rounded vowels because when we produce them, our lips have to be rounded somewhat. But all of the other ones, we don't have to round our lips, and so they are called unrounded vowels. These are the 10 monophthongs. Again, we have the lowercase I, small capital I, epsilon, and ash. Okay, these are all front vowels. We have the schwa, and the wedge, a. They are central vowels, and we have the lowercase u, the upsilon, the open o, and script a. These are back vowels. And when we use the four descriptors, we can describe each vowel, and we have to describe each vowel in the four different ways. Except for the schwa and wedge, each vowel has its own distinct description. For example, the lowercase u is called a high in terms of tongue height, back in terms of tongue advancement, tense in terms of tenseness, and rounded vowel in terms of lip rounding. Okay, and the ash, for example, a is called a low, front, lax, and unrounded vowel. Okay, so we have four descriptors to describe each vowel. And so if we say that if a vowel is low, back, unrounded, and lax, we know it's the script A. Okay, but we do have to pay attention to the schwa and the wedge because these two have the same description. One of the descriptions for these two are the same because they both are considered mid, central, lax, and rounded vowels. Now, in the International Phonetic Alphabet, these two are considered a little different, but in our textbook, they too are placed in the mid-central position, and so their four descriptors are the same, and we are going to follow our textbook description. Now that we are familiar with monophthongs, let's take a look at diphthongs. Diphthongs are different from monophthongs because we cannot use the four descriptors to describe them. Why is that the case? Because for diphthongs, they are complex vowels. They include two vowel sounds combined together, and there is movement of our tongue from one position to another position. And so there is no way we could use the four descriptors to describe the diphthongs. American English has 5 diphthongs. They are A, from A to A sound, A, such as in bay, and I. So moving from a script A to a small capital I, such as in high or I, and oi, moving from open O to a small capital I, oi, such as in boy, and from script A to epsilon, ow, such as in bow, and from O to epsilon, such as and it's pronounced as O, such as in bow. Okay, this is the pronunciation is described based on Standard American English that is based on Midwestern dialect, and it's also used by broadcasting companies. However, we do have to realize that there are a lot of different dialects spoken in this country, and not everyone produce the monophthongs or diphthongs the same way. Okay, for example, in Appalachian English, uh, the diphthong I is often reduced to a monophthong ah, such as in the words eyes, or I, or high, or height. Okay, if you look at my notes, you have several examples here, right? So in standard American English, this is I, by, eyes, and height. However, in certain dialects in the United States, these may be pronounced as ba, as, and height, and hat, right? Instead of height. However, in our transcription practice and homework, I still want you to use the diphthong symbols, um, script A and small capital I, because it is the most accepted dialect in the country. And so it is important that if you know that you speak a dialect that is a little different from the standard American English, it may be beneficial to listen to the sound files from our textbook's companion website, or you use the online dictionary's pronunciation. Okay, you can always check the online dictionary and have it pronounce the word for you. However, I do want to put a caution there that is all online dictionaries as well as physical paper dictionaries, they have their own way of transcription. Okay, and the way you see they transcribe their words are different from our textbook transcription. So you cannot use or adopt their transcription for our transcription exercises that you are going to do for this chapter. Please do use our phonetic symbols for the transcription exercise. Okay. For example, I wanted to show you. I want to show you an example of how the online dictionaries or maybe physical dictionaries use entirely different transcription systems. For example, I use Google Dictionary all the time. Let's try a word. Book. A simple word, book. And
book,
you can have it pronounce it for you, but its transcription is for the epsilon. Instead of an epsilon symbol, it has a double O and the mark above it to show this. And this is not the same as our textbook, and this is not a standard international phonetic alphabet. And so please do not try to follow a dictionary's transcription for our class. Maybe sometimes the dictionary has a transcription that's similar to our transcription system, but you do have to double check yourself to see whether that's correct or not. Okay. Okay. File 2.5 talks about super segmental features. The difference between segmental and super segmental features basically is, are you talking about a single sound or a segment, or are you talking about a feature that's residing on the top of the segment? Segments are consonants and vowels. They are individual sounds of speech. And super segmental features are the sound features that kind of right on top of the segmental features. To identify the quality of super segmental features, we have to compare the different segments and the different utterances, okay? And super segmental features can extend across numerous segments in utterance instead of belonging to a single segment, such as a consonant or a vowel. And here are 4 super segmental features. They are length, how long a sound is, intonation, tone, and stress. First of all, the super segmental feature of length. Length is how long a sound is. Some speech sounds are longer than others. Of course, we're talking about the measurements of milliseconds. Because the duration of a segment may vary for a number of reasons due to the person speaking, the situation of speaking, etc. It's very hard to look at a particular segment to decide the length of a sound of the sound. Sorry. Instead, we have to compare the durations of segments within a given utterance. Now, English as a language does not have long and short consonant or vowel sounds. That would change word meaning. So, which this means if a sound is produced longer or shorter by the same person or different people, you shouldn't be able to say, well, that's an entirely different word, right? For example, I can see say, I can see, I can say see. I can also say see. The second one is longer than the first one, but you know it's the same word. Okay, but there are some inherent length features in the segment sounds, for example, or else being equal. High vowels like the lowercase I, E are shorter than low vowels like ah. Voiceless consonants like t are longer than voiced consonants like d. These are inherent features because it just takes longer for us to produce a voiceless consonant like t, right? And voiceless fricatives like s are the longest consonants of all. Also, the duration of speech sound may be influenced by the sounds surrounding it. For example, the lowercase I, E in the different environment, um, the length of it may be different. For example, if it's followed by a voiced consonant like the, it is longer than if it's followed by a voiceless consonant like t. So bead is the E in the word bead is about 1.5 times longer than the E sound in the word bit. Okay, because the vowel E is preceding a voiced consonant d. In some languages, length of a sound can change the word meaning. And our example in our textbook on page 69 shows you how in Finnish, the different length of in a word actually reproduce different meaning. And you can hear the sounds in the sound file. Okay, let's just take a brief look of it.
Finnish example.
A1,
Muta, mud.
A2,
Muuta, some other.
A3,
Mutta, but.
B1,
Okay, so you can hear that in Finnish, the length of the vowel u changes meaning. Okay, you can continue hearing the different examples if you go to our sound files link. Okay, so that's length. Intonation. Voiced speech sounds, particularly vowels, may be produced with different pitches, and the different pitches, depending on the different pitches, are considered intonations. Pitch depends on the rate of vibration of the vocal folds, right? These are all voiced, of course. Higher rates of vibration results in higher pitch and vice versa. The pattern of pitch movement across a stretch of speech, such as a sentence, is intonation. And there are two intonational phenomena involved in making the intonation contours of a sentence: pitch accents, and phrase tones. And you can hear the examples again in the sound files link. Mary kissed Peter, Mary kissed Peter, and Mary kissed Peter. Okay, the place of the pitch in this particular stream of sound can produce different meaning. And also in addition to pitch accents, there are also phrase tones that occur at the end of a phrase to perform informational functions. If the pitch is higher at the end of a phrase, then it indicates I'm not done yet. There's more material or information that's coming. If it's a lowered pitch, that's usually at the end of a phrase or at the end of a sentence. And the speaker indicates I'm done talking here, right? And you can see that example in our textbook as well. Tone is the pitch at which the syllable in a word are pronounced. Is called tone. English is not a tonal language, and so tone doesn't really matter. But in many languages, such as in Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai, and many North and South Native American languages, a change in the tone in a syllable can make a difference in word meaning. And so these are called tonal languages. Here is the example of Chinese, okay? Here is how the system works. If the tone does not change, it's called a first tone or flat tone. This is pronounced as ma, so you can hear that it stays at the same level, ma. If the tone or the pitch goes up within the same syllable from a lower position to a higher position, ma, then it's called a second tone. If the pitch first starts at a somewhat higher position, goes down, and then goes up again, then it's called a contour or a third tone, ma. So it starts at a higher pitch, then drops, and then goes up again, ma. And the fourth tone is starting at a higher pitch and then lowers dramatically, and it's called going down, or the fourth tone, ma. Ma starts at a higher pitch, then goes to a lower pitch, okay? And it's the same combination of a consonant and vowel sound, ma, but the meaning differs. So the syllable stays the same, consonant and vowel, but the meaning changes because the tone within the consonant, within the syllable, the tone within the syllable changes. Ma, 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 ma. Okay. Please note that tone is considered a suprasegmental feature because it's relative to each speaker and to each speaking situation. For example, female speakers usually have higher pitch voice than male speakers of the language. And so to judge if a syllable has a high or low tone, you have to compare the syllable to its neighboring sounds. And you have to consider the speaker as a influencing variable or factor. Our sound files page have man and a woman speaking the 4 syllables for you so that you can possibly hear that the female speaker have the higher pitch, the male speakers have the lower pitch, but still both are able to produce the 4 different tones within the same syllable. Okay. Tone and intonation are not mutually exclusive. Tone languages also use intonation. For example, if you want to ask the question, did you take the exam? Then you say, 你考试啦. If you want to say, you took the exam, you can say, 你考试了. We have tone and intonation in combination in the two statements. One is asking a question, 你考试啦? One is making a statement, 你考试啦. And next one is stress. Stress is a property of entire syllables. Again, not a segment, not a consonant or a vowel, but the combination of consonant and vowels to make syllables, right? So stress is a property of the entire syllables, but not segments. Although the vowel in the syllable usually carries the stress. A stressed syllable. What is a stressed syllable? In previous semesters, some students seem to have the difficulty, I guess, catching or understanding a stressed syllable, although they can perfectly stress the syllable at the right places because they are native speakers of English, right? But just remember, a stressed syllable is more prominent than unstressed syllable. It is longer, it is louder in the same word. And they usually contain full vowels. Okay, so full vowels are vowels that are produced at extreme positions. Okay, mid-central vowels like the schwa will never be in a stressed syllable. If you see a schwa, then it's always going to be unstressed. And we use a small vertical line that is in the superscript position before the syllable to indicate that it is a stressed syllable. If there are more than one stressed syllables, usually there is a prominent stress and one or more of secondary stresses. For secondary stresses, we use the underscript small vertical line to mark it. Again, it's also before the syllable. Okay, so for example, this is the example our textbook uses, photograph. Okay, the initial syllable pho is stressed, so we use the small vertical line in the superscript position before the syllable pho to indicate that this is stressed. Photograph. How do I know pho is stressed in the word photograph? You can play with it to try to stress different syllables and see if that really sounds an English word or not, right? So for photograph, if you stress the second syllable, you would be pronouncing photograph. If you stress the third syllable, it would be photograph. Okay, how do you say the word? You say photograph, right? Not photograph or photograph. So we know the stress is here at the very beginning for the first syllable. But if you have the word photography, then it has two stressed syllables. The second syllable, ta is the prominent stress, and the last syllable, fi, is the secondary stress. And so we pronounce it photography. This is louder and more prominent. This is also louder and more prominent compared to f and gra. But if you compare these two syllables, you can clearly hear that ta is more pronounced compared to fi, photography. Okay. Some languages have clear stress patterns, which means that the stressed syllable is almost always in one particular position, such as all stressed syllables are in the word initial position. However, if you look at exercise 27 on page 102, and you try to pronounce all of the words, and if you find the stressed syllables in each of the words, you will see that English does not have an established stress pattern. And this means stressed syllables can occur anywhere in the English word. And that is maybe why English is hard for people to learn especially how which syllable is stressed, because there's no standard established pattern of stress in English words. Okay, so that's files 2.3 and 2.5 talking about features of the vowel sound, which is a segment sound, and file 2.5, which talks about suprasegmental features. Now, the transcription exercise for this chapter probably are hard. You would probably consider them as hard, and they will take a lot of time. And so plan to spend more time on those transcription exercises. If you have questions or run into problems, feel free to email me or maybe text me, okay? Again, I would suggest that you use the dictionary's pronunciation as your guide when you are doing the transcription exercises, so that we are transcribing the words in a similar fashion. All right.